going on? This is Miss Kiki, and I'm going to talk to you guys about securing the American dream, quote unquote American dream, home ownership, and some of the things that I actually did to reach that goal. Some of you may think that owning your own home may be a tedious process, but only if you make it. I actually became a homeowner within a period of 30 days, and my process was pretty smooth with a couple of bumps along the road, but overall a pretty smooth period because I planned and actually just remained patient throughout the entire process. So what are some of the things that helped me within those 30 days to make certain that I was on path to closing on my first home? The first thing that I did prior to owning my first home, and actually, why did I want to own a home? Let's rewind. All right, so at the time I was renting, and I had a landlord who didn't want to help me out with doing any of the repairs, be it cosmetic issues, be it electricals throughout the house. Just a real slum landlord who didn't really want to do anything. Very nice property, but a landlord who was fixed on just collecting rent. We all have had one of those, I'm sure. All right, so being the independent person that I am, I decided, hey, I'm gonna tackle owning my own home. At the time, I had no idea how to start that process. So I decided to talk to my mother and a few of my relatives and friends to see what I could do to start the process. The first thing that I did was just make certain that my credit was where it needed to be. Credit is essential. Good credit is essential. There are a few apps out there that can actually help you get your credit up to where it needs to be. Not to name any of them, but the one that I used at the time allowed me to see all of my creditors that I owed money to. It gave me their address and contact information to clear the debt. It also gave me my credit score and all information needed just to making certain to pay off all outstanding debts on my credit. There are several apps out there, some of which are free for just reviewing your credit score and balances that you have on your credit report. So get your credit clear, guys. That's gonna be extremely important. Just making sure your credit is where it needs to be. Next up, I had to save money. And that's something that each of us should already be doing. Opposed to being a consumer and spending, open up a savings account and start saving as much money as possible if you're considering buying a home. There are going to be several charges and expenses that you're having to pay. To give some examples, you have your down payment costs. Depending on your financial institution, if you go through a bank, credit union, or whoever you decide to finance your loan through, you're gonna have a down payment cost. With me individually, I had a conventional 30-year loan, which I was expected to go through a first-time homeowners program. With my homeowners program, it was a program where I attended classes and I received assistance with paying my down payment cost. My down payment cost with that program was little to nothing. And it's not income driven. Some banks just have those programs. So do your research and see what's out there for you. What loan works best? There are various loans. We have the conventional 30-year loan. We actually have the FHA loan, which is a loan where you're having to pay additional fees and costs each month. It's a insurance, PMT insurance that you're having to pick up when you're actually doing an FHA loan. Then they also have the VA loan for those of you who are in the armed services or military or what have you. You're also going to have the fee to have your inspection done. Inspection fees. What else do you have? You have your earnest money, which is a fee that you're expected to pay just to secure the house and make certain that you are going to plan to go through with the purchase. My earnest money was, I believe, $500 at that time, and if I did back out of the purchase, that money was non-refundable. You also have your moving costs, and those are the fees to hire your movers to come in and move your items, as well as if you're going to decide to install new fixtures, be it light fixtures, or do anything with the electricals, or put in, say, like a new water heater or furnace. You're definitely gonna need moving costs. So just make sure to save as much money as possible, because you're gonna need it. Oh yeah, you also have your closing costs. So on the day of closing, you are expected to pay a cost which covers your agent's fees. It covers the documentation that's being prepared or what have you by the closing agency, and various fees. So you are expected to come to the table with closing costs. In some cases, the person who you've purchased your house from may decide or accept an offer to pay those costs for you. Try to negotiate that into your offer. Closing costs in some cases are paid. Next, you're going to want to research grants and loans that are available to you. As I stated earlier, I was fortunate to get into a first-time homeowners program that assists me with some of the costs that I had. And I actually got a pretty low interest rate as well with that program. So research everything that's out there for you before making the decision to go with your lender. Next up, you're going to want to make sure to make a must-have list. And this is important. All of the things that you've always dreamed of in your perfect house. In my individual case, I wanted to have a privacy fence, enclosed backyard with a privacy fence. I also wanted to have my basement finished, and various other things. You'll likely get 80% of those things that you have on that list. It's never going to be a perfect house out there, but make a list. And something else that's helpful is watching some of those shows like on HGTV, and some of those shows, they come in handy as far as helping you just make the final decision on what are your must-haves within your house. But make a list before you actually go out with your realtor of things that you must have in your home. Next up is find a trustworthy agent. And that's going to be key. My agent was a referral from one of my relatives. Most agents are actually out to get commission. As to any competitive job, you're going to want to make profit. So find someone who's not just in it to get a profit for themselves, but they're actually there to benefit as well as have you benefit, and get all of those things on your must-have list, and get a property that fits your needs. Find a trustworthy person who has integrity, someone who's going to answer your calls when you call and have inquiries, someone who's going to take you to places that they know are on your must-have list. Someone that you can count on, who will ultimately become the person that will find you your dream house. Next up is get pre-approved. With the pre-approval process, it can go pretty smooth, or it can actually become a tedious process, just depending on how prepared you are. So I would say a year before deciding to purchase a house, find all of your documents and keep up with everything. You're gonna need to have, I believe, 2 years worth of bank statements. They ask for 2 years worth of check stubs. They ask for your 401k statements, all of your financial documents. You're going to want to keep up with your W-2s. If you're a entrepreneur, I'm pretty certain they'll ask you for additional documents as well. Keep up with your documents and make sure you're prepared, because that'll make that process go pretty smoothly with your pre-approval. Make sure to shop around. When you're looking for a house, it's very important to shop around. If you have kids, make sure the schools in that area are good schools. I know that it's a website, greatschools.org, I believe, where you can actually see if the schools are good and have like good academics and things of that nature. You also want to make certain that the location is a location that's pretty, centrally located to like your kids' school, your work, your job, and places that you frequent. So location is key as well. Shop around, research the neighborhood, make certain there is no crime in those neighborhoods. Do everything possible to make certain that you are moving to the best area, simply because this is your house. You're going to plan to live there for many years. You want to shop around. There's no moving, people, unless, of course, you rent out the house or you decide to sell. Next up, I'm going to talk about some things that I would do a little different if I decide in the future to rebuy or to purchase another house. And one thing that I will say I would actually do different is look beyond the staging. And when I say that, looking beyond the staging is very important. When I purchased my house was fully refurbished. Everything, was gutted out. It was pretty brand new. And, the bells and whistles, shiny, new appliances, things of that matter, kind of outshadowed the things that I should have looked for. And it's not anything major, but just like a few minor things. One of which would have been me buying the house and pulling out the stove and finding out that I had a outlet, which was for a electrical stove, and my range was gas. So I actually had to spend more money right after paying my closing costs and all of these fees to get a contractor to come out to actually run a gas line. Another thing very similar was pulling out the washer and finding out I had to have a contractor come out and actually run a plug for the washing machine. So those were additional costs. And last but not least, one thing that was pretty major. In the climate where I live in, it's pretty cold in the winter and the fall months. And in my basement, boy, does it get cold. My basement is finished. It's so beautiful and nice. However, I have to use a space heater in that area because I didn't check to see if they actually had furnace vents in all of the rooms. Only the main room down in my basement area has a vent, and only that room actually keeps or holds heat. All of the other areas are pretty cold, including the area where I do laundry. So that's pretty frustrating, just having to run a space heater. So look beyond the staging and just make certain that all of, everything is good as far as like all of the electricals and things that you're gonna have to use. Get a home inspection, and the bank is gonna make certain, or credit union or whatever facility you decide to finance, we'll make sure you're getting the inspection and that everything is up to par as far as like your roof and furnace and things of that matter. So that'll be taken care of. But use your own inspector to make certain that he looks at the foundation and that he runs a fine-tooth comb through everything. Get a home inspection. It's very important to make certain that's done. And last but not least, be prepared.
Owning your own home is a huge responsibility, but it's definitely rewarding. Be prepared to receive the rewards. This is Miss Kiki, and thank you so much for tuning in.